proverb states, "He who thinks he is leading and has no one following him is only taking a walk." And I wanted you all to come take this walk with me. I want you all to experience the knowledge, the power of our community. I want you to celebrate their accomplishments. I want you all to, again, acknowledge the hard work that they do. We started the first annual event with highlighting faculty members on campus. Last year we did the same. This year we wanted to spread our arms to the community, and I thank you three for coming today, because we want to make sure we celebrate you, acknowledge you, and receive the light that you have to offer us today. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And I hope you leave here, sincerely hope you leave here, taking knowledge and then sharing the light that you receive. Thank you for coming, and I turn the program on to my fabulous coordinator of the Center for African American Studies, Professor Shante White.
I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Reba Carey was born and raised in Fort Worth. Mr. Carey grew up in a religious household, the son of Reverend Smith Carey, who founded Rising Star Baptist Church in Fort Worth. In 1937, Mr. Carey graduated from Ian Terrell High School, the first black high school in Fort Worth. In addition to serving the Texas State House of Representatives, he held leadership positions in the Frederick Douglass Republicans of Tarrant County and the Texas Council of Black Republicans. Mr. Carey has also held positions in various organizations, such as Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Youth Services, Bureau Tarrant County, Fort Worth Minority Leaders and Citizens Council, Boy Scouts of America, United Way of Tarrant County, the Fort Worth Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, and the list goes on and on. As you can see, Mr. Carey is Fort Worth. Mr. Carey has contributed so much to the community, and we are more than honored to have him join us this evening. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Reba Carey.
I wrote a book on Copper Heights, but let me read this first part here to you. Reba Carey watered the family tree. The family tree is an obvious symbol of genealogical roots in our dynasty. The family preserves our legacy. Our family members must continue to water the roots of our legacy. The family tree is a criteria to measure our progress. Each branch, the families who work together. And you young men, you got to have some inspiration, friend. And that's why you need to read and see what did they do. Well, I don't have time to go through all that. It'd take me a whole time talking about just the Brooks. But you know the Brooks, Commissioner Roy Brooks still part of that family. Jack Brooks was a top man here in Fort Worth and Texas. And so these men were independent and helped us. The Ransoms, first black hospital we had here in Fort Worth. In Fort Worth. And so it was important that you understand that what we must talk about. And in that class, that was about, I think, 12 whites and 2 blacks in the class. And I told those white professors, I said, to white students, I said, let me tell you something, buddy. Don't stop preaching. Your parents were black, white guy. And I said, all life began in sub-Saharan Africa. If you think I'm running my mouth, baby, you go home and research. It's documented. All life began in sub-Saharan Africa. And so, what are we doing? The hypothesis is that the leadership for us now comes from the young people.
Our next author has made substantive contributions to the field of history, education, and African studies. Constance Hilliard is a professor of applied African and Africana history at the University of North Texas. Professor Hilliard's latest book, Straightening the Bell Curve, explores controversial issues surrounding genetics, race, and intelligence. Its premise is that researchers preoccupied with proving racial hierarchies often sacrifice scientific truth to masculine insecurities. The tendency to justify racial and cultural stereotypes on the grounds that they reflect underlying biological differences has a long and sordid history in America. All right, without further ado, Professor Constance Hilliard.
Okay. The title of my book is Straightening the Bell Curve: How Stereotypes About Black Masculinity Drive Research on Race and Intelligence. There was an undercurrent that I really wanted to try to understand. And so I started trying to figure out theories as to how to really grapple with what this business was all about in the latter part of the 20th century. What I'm going to read today is an excerpt from a book that I started in 1994. For you students, you're probably too young to remember a book that came out that year, The Bell Curve. But for those who are closer to my age, it was really a very traumatic moment. The Bell Curve was essentially a book that focused on the cognitive inferiority of African Americans. Now, what was when he asserted in the London Sunday Times that Black Africans were cognitively inferior to whites? Watson went on to say that while he hoped that everyone was equal, it is nevertheless the case that, quote, people who have to deal with Black employees find this is not true. Unquote. Racial differences in intelligence, as it was their belief in an evolutionary order predicated on variations in the presumed body type, muscularity, size of genitalia, sexual impulsivity, and the ability to jump. Professor Rushton is one of the group's most prolific scientists. His most widely discussed contribution to the science of proving the cognitive inferiority of Blacks was a statement he made in a 1994 interview. And this is what he said: "It's a trade-off, more brain or more penis. You can't have everything." Unquote. In investigating, this seemingly disjointed statement received little media coverage, but I knew then that it was only a matter of time before Watson joined the cult of scientists for whom racial differences in intelligence was a code phrase for a far deeper meaning. Over the last half century, this scientific fraternity has included such illustrious names as William Shockley, Charles Murray, Richard Herrnstein, Arthur Jensen, Jean-Philippe Rushton, and Richard Lynn. Because it is sometimes very difficult as an African American to remember who you are in the face of others who are trying to redefine who you are. Regardless of how many rejections you get, if you feel that you have something to say, however tiny it may be, but if you feel that it comes from your soul, then you say it, no matter what.
She may have been wondering why this random lady from UTA contacted her in July for an event that would occur in December. But that's just how excited that I was. I was so proud to have one of our young alumni to have a book published. It was such a great feat. Miss Katrina Williams is a 27-year-old from Fort Worth, Texas. She wears many titles: author, life motivator, and founder of Memoirs of Virtue nonprofit foundation. She graduated from UT Arlington with a Bachelor of Science degree in University Studies, and she's a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. She's currently a graduate student at Angelo State University, pursuing a Master's of Education degree. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Katrina Williams.
All our lives, we've always heard from society that we needed to go to school, figure out what we want to do with our lives, and move forward with life. But nobody ever told us how to do that. Growing up on the south side of Fort Worth, the hood, it's kind of hard to get direction, and it's hard to find information about school because it's not readily available. So I decided to write my book in hopes of inspiring other students and kids that grew up like me to go to school and how to do it. There's so much stuff that we wish somebody would have told us before we went to school. We would have avoided a lot of mistakes. So I chose to share my journey in hopes of telling them the real stuff that happens in college. Because everyone paints this picture-perfect situation as if you won't fail a class, you won't get stressed out, you'll just breeze through in 4 years, which is not the case. Yeah. I feel that if students had more people my age and the younger generation tell them what to do and how to do it, they'll be more prone to doing it. I love hearing from Mr. Carey and I love hearing from her as well, but it's hard for them to digest what they're saying because they're not on their level yet. So I feel it's my mission to be that person to bridge the gap between the community and the school and give them the inspiration they need to get through. So, Memoirs of Virtue is my baby, and I hope that you all read it and enjoy it and get some inspiration from it because I really do feel that I've covered all the bases